Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. And this, if you're online, you know that this is a special episode because it is a Tuesday and it's a little bit earlier than I normally do at 12 o'clock. But I needed to chat with these two women here, two wonderful advocates for food allergies. On your right, I guess, is Addie Lau. She's a 9-year-old food allergy advocate. And next to her is her mom, Dr. Robyn Lau, a pediatric surgical nurse practitioner, and they're from Sacramento, California. And they co-authored California's Senate Bill 68, also known as the Allergen Disclosure for Dining Experiences, the ADDE Act. And if passed, this bill would require food facilities that serve or sell restaurant-style food to consumers to list the top 9 allergens on their menus, helping millions dine more and safely. Hello, ladies. How are you?
Hi, thank you for having us.
You're welcome. So I want to get started, and can you tell me a little bit about yourselves?
Do you want to go first?
I'm Addie. I'm 9 years old, and I'm in 3rd grade. And I'm allergic to dairy, peanuts, tree nuts, and sesame.
Perfect. Yeah. Okay, and I'm Robyn, her mom. We live in Sacramento. I'm a pediatric nurse practitioner with background in pediatric intensive care and trauma and general surgery.
Okay. Well, and we're here today because of the bill that you all co-authored and pushing forward to have allergen labeling on California restaurants and any other kind of venues that serve food and restaurant style food. So what inspired you to do this?
Yeah, it actually was born out of a really nice experience we had at a fantastic Chinese restaurant that we now are loyal customers to. We went there for Mother's Day last year. We're Chinese, and her sesame allergy is quite challenging in that situation where, a lot of Asian cuisine contains sesame. And so Addie really likes dumplings, and it was a dumpling restaurant. And because they labeled the top 9 allergens, it was actually really nice where we were able to have Addie partake in a meal with us at the restaurant for one of the first few times. Often we're packing food and she's able to sit with us, but maybe only eat the rice, and unfortunately that's just not the best. And we often feel pretty bad about that. So this time, because of a special occasion, we went and sought out this restaurant. We actually don't live nearby it. It's 2 or 3 hours away in the Bay Area. And we were able to have her eat the full meal with us. And I actually literally cried watching her eat these dumplings because it was just so transformative for us.
That's amazing. And actually, Addie, that reminds me, when my niece was 9, I asked her what it was like when she sits at a table with me and I don't have anything to eat and the rest of the table does. And she says she feels guilty about it. And because she has food and I don't. So I can imagine how you felt at those other previous meals versus this one. Did you feel pretty good about eating the whole meal with the family?
Yeah.
What did you like about that meal so much, the best?
I like the dumplings the best.
Okay. Very good. So, okay, so let's jump to, with that idea in mind, let's jump to a question to you specifically. What is it like, what's your daily life like navigating your food allergies?
I've had food allergies for a long time, of course. I know it's like, but at restaurants, whenever we dine out, sometimes we don't know, the waiter doesn't know, and I feel insecure because if they serve me food and I don't know what's in it, I might not even take it. I might just eat what my mom has packed me and just watch the rest of my family eat while I can't eat because we don't have good information.
And that's the most important part about your bill, right? Robyn, so how did this go back? Before we started, you said you all started this back in last summer. So tell me what the whole process was in designing this bill and how you've partnered with the senator.
Yeah. So, my background being a nurse practitioner, I'm actually part of a little local chapter of NAPNAP. It's the National Association of Pediatric Nurse Practitioners. So I helped start that Sacramento chapter, was the past founding president, and then now I'm the current legislative chair. We just have the opportunity that we live at the capital of California. So I thought this was such a great opportunity. I helped organize our first day at the Capitol and learned how to do that, set up meetings with the Senate and Assembly member offices. And Addie saw me doing that and she said, oh my gosh, well, I want to go to the Capitol too. And let's do this for food allergy. She just started getting involved, being a Red Sneakers for Oakley ambassador. She did a school-wide assembly last year in May. And so really that interest was picking up. And so we said, okay, well, let's do it. There was a law review that was excellently written by Dr. Doctorow about this, how do we bring labeling to restaurants? And so that really provided a lot of background for me. And then I was able to bring this little 2-pager proposal. We went to the Capitol in October and met with several offices, and we luckily found Senator Menjivar, who wanted to author it.
Nice. And can you tell us some of the specifics in the bill?
Yeah, of course. So it would require the labeling of the top 9 food allergens. And the reason why the top 9 is that mirrors what's currently mandated for packaged foods. And the top 9 allergens, though it doesn't encompass everyone's allergens, it does encompass 90% of the top 9. The top 9 encompasses 90% of people's allergens.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So it'd be pretty comprehensive.
Okay, go ahead. It'd be pretty comprehensive in having them do that on the label.
And the last thing to note, for packaged foods currently it's voluntary to list kind of cross-contact or precautionary labeling, right? So they contain same facility as, you've seen those on labels. So that currently is voluntary and not mandated. It's not actually defined yet also by the FDA. So we felt at this time, because for packaged foods, it's not mandated yet, we're not going to bring that over to, this new bill. So this is only for what foods contain, not addressing cross-contact.
Okay. And I know that when I talk to people a lot about it, it's cross-contact. And even, I did this event, I've done a couple of events and asked them to make my event nut-free because of people who are attending the event. And they're like, well, the hotel's not nut-free. And I say, I understand that, but we can make the event space nut-free. And so same thing, they can be very conscientious about how they're making those meals in figuring out that cross-contact, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're still hoping that restaurants will use best practice to help prevent cross-contamination, but we're just not asking for the labeling of the cross-contact at this time. There was a bill passed in California, the Georgie Act, actually brought restaurants food allergy training, which was a really important in California to help with that knowledge gap.
Yeah, and so this is just kind of adding on to that and taking it to the next step. So, because it's kind of hard too for a server to remember all of the different allergens that are contained in a restaurant menu, and especially if it's got 40 different items on it.
Exactly. And that's often what happens, so we go to restaurants, we talk to the wait staff, they're always well-meaning and want to help. But of course, in a busy, really chaotic restaurant, sometimes it's really challenging. They're writing it down, they're trying to remember off the top of their head, okay, I don't think it contains XYZ. They say that you're going to go back to talk to the chef, which they do. Of course, it's busy and loud. They come back. Most oftentimes, they go back and forth multiple times. And we've had instances where, unfortunately, it still ends up on our plate. And then we double check one more time and they're, actually don't eat that. Like, yes, there is butter, so we've had a lot of close calls. And I think we've had good experiences where, the wait staff don't know off the top of their head, but they're able to reference it. We're able to reference it together, decide what we choose to order based on that information. They still double check. So we're still having that verbal communication check. And it leads to a much safer, much more secure experience for us.
Exactly. Well, okay. So I want to go back to that Chinese restaurant that you ate at. What was the impetus for them to label? Did they, when you
That's a
talked to
really
them
good
about it?
question. Yeah, I actually don't know, but they have fantastic practice. I mean, it's available online with their grid. Even when we order, it's on their ordering device where the waitstaff are able to show us actually, and it lists all the ingredients, not even just the top 9, it's all the ingredients. So we're able to double check there. They also go back to the chef, double check. And when they bring it out, they mention, okay, this is the one that is, safe. This one does not contain sesame. They make it very clear. So just throughout the whole experience, every single time it's checked. And we've had this every time we go to this restaurant, because of course now we're loyal customers, this is the only place we want to go. It happens all the time.
Well, that's so nice. And Addie, when you go to that restaurant, do you place your own order?
Yeah, well, yeah.
She knows exactly what she wants to eat. Yeah. Exactly which dishes are safe.
Okay, so in doing this bill, Addie, you all, because you're in Sacramento and you've written this bill with the senator, you went to the Capitol and you spoke in front of the Senate hearing. Is that correct? Can you tell me a little bit about that, and what was the most exciting and proud moment of that?
I think, well, I brought my class with me to the Capitol, and they watched the hearing. So when it was my turn to speak up, after that, we had people come up and say their name and say that, like, I support this bill. So my whole class got up, and each one of them said, like, their name and supported my bill.
That's fantastic. I hope that made you feel really special and proud, right? And that's a really good teacher that helped bring your class to the Capitol.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were even able to meet with some Senate offices too. So we broke them up into teams of 5, and they got a really good experience advocating for Addie.
That's fantastic. What's the next step?
Yeah, so we passed the Senate Health Committee 11-0, hooray! And then the next step is the Senate Appropriations Committee. That one is not an in-person. So that one we are just meeting with the Senate offices, with the analysts, and we'll get that decision by May 23rd. So once that passes, we'll be able to go to the Senate floor. That's the first week in June for the full Senate to vote. And then if that passes, it goes over to the Assembly side. Assembly side mirrors the Senate side. So Assembly Health Committee, that will be an in-person hearing where Addie's able to give testimony again. People who want to come and support can come in person. So that'll probably be more late June, July. And then it'll go to Assembly Appropriations next, and then Assembly floor. And if it passes all of those, it'll probably be by September. We should know if it's fully passed there. And then Governor Newsom has until early October to sign it.
Okay, so it's pretty fast.
Yes, yeah, it's the process.
And then I know there was a date in there that you would like it, I mean, besides being passed, then to be implemented, because it's not going to be necessarily an easy thing for a restaurant to do. So can you talk about how that you all want to help and work with them to make it as easy as possible?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to allow an Apple rollout plan, knowing that currently, there was a 2020 publication that said, about only 9% of restaurants currently in the US are really labeling. So we know that there's definitely going to need some ramp up time. So not until July of 2026.
Okay. So it would give them about 9 months to put all the labeling on their menus and things? Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And are you guys putting together any education or efforts to help them do that? Is that part of the bill at all?
Yeah, not at this time. Definitely, if it is successful, that's something that we hope to provide. And we're open to kind of questions or any feedback about what's necessary and what's needed.
Okay. And I really want to know how you came up with the name that matches your name, Addie.
I know, that was so sweet. That was from the Senate office,
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we want to name it after Addie, but we want it to be an acronym that really reflects the goal of the bill. So ADDE, it was actually perfect that her name's was kind of
One
matching.
letter missing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what kind of information do you, or what support do you need from other people to help push this forward?
Yeah, I would say, I think we've gotten a lot of community support. People finding out about the bill are very excited in the food allergy community, knowing how impactful this will be in terms of safety. And so we have a lot of, allergy content creators, spreading information, things like that. But what we're really hoping also is, small restaurants, bigger restaurant chains will join us also in supporting this, knowing that some restaurants are already doing this. So, and telling people that it is possible for this to be done. And honestly, we really hope to bring more business to the restaurant industry in this. There are 4 million people in California affected by food allergies. Those are only those directly affected, right? We do know that families like ours, spouses of those with food allergies, oftentimes shy away from dining out if it's unsafe, because obviously they don't want their loved ones to not be able to partake. And so really, by having good labeling, by having good information, we're hoping that all of us can kind of go out more and be more involved in the restaurant industry and bring out more business.
Well, and when the other thing too that I shared with you too is that the amount, like as an event planner, the number of people who are coming to California for vacation or for business, that adds another large contingency of people who are dining out and eating at convention centers and hotels that have food allergies. And I mean, so that's another huge contingency of people that can be impacted positively by this law.
Yeah, 100%. And the food allergy community is very loyal. Once we find a good restaurant that we feel is safe, that has good information, we will frequent that restaurant many, many times. Those will be our go-tos, So, yeah.
The restaurant that I was telling you about before we started is Burton's Restaurant Bar and Grill, and they started up in Massachusetts. But I interviewed the founding chef of that restaurant, and they have a very strong allergy protocol and gluten-free protocol. And she sent me a message that the day after she was on the podcast myself, saying that a family reached out and said they planned their vacation around where Burton's restaurants are located. And so, and they ate dinner there for 8 days straight because they knew Burton's would take care of their son. Isn't that cool?
That is so cool. That's what we do with the dumpling restaurant in Taifeng. So it's what we do.
All right. Our friend Erin is on LinkedIn here, and she said, allergic diners are loyal customers when they feel safe and accommodated. 100% agree, Erin. It's huge. And I think I just saw Ali Ball just commented on here too. I need to figure out where that went, but hopefully it comes in here. And 100% in, I don't know what LinkedIn user says, 100% in California now. I don't know who that was, but thank you so much. And tell me what that pertains to, if you can add a little more detail to that. So yeah. So what is the end goal is to get restaurants to put their allergen labelings on this. And can you touch on any of the people who are against this bill and how we can help them understand the positivity around it?
Yeah, so currently, we have over 30 organizations that signed on to support. And fortunately, we did receive 2 opposition letters. One was from the California Restaurant Association with FAIR, which is our food allergy nonprofit. So unfortunately, they cited it could potentially provide a false sense of security. We do know that with labeling, this would really be the gold standard. So I don't think at all it will lead to false security, because families with food allergies will know to ask anyways and have the verbal communication like we discussed. So in addition to labeling, it's another added layer of protection. And families will still double check the information, still have that conversation with staff. So if anything, it's just informing the conversation. and creating a better culture of safety and awareness.
100% agree. Yeah.
Yeah, the data is also shown too. You know, there was a publication in 2020 where it basically showed that 53% of people had reactions when they only had the verbal communication with staff, whereas that went down to 13% when it included labeling plus the verbal communication. So we know the data has shown that labeling will just hugely protect the community.
Well, and just on that labeling side too, and I think I said it earlier too, is that it helps the servers because there's so much to learn, and they're taking all of those orders, the labeling. And if you think about the restaurants that already have to do it, if they have 20 locations or more, right, they have to provide that information. And it is a good, although I do go to restaurants, some of those places when you're at the airport and they don't even know they have that grid, but at least it's a thing that I can go online and look and show them, and it does help. All right, and that was Allie that commented now, and she just said she's in California now, and she agrees it's a popular spot to travel for work and vacation. And I was looking at the statistics on how many people travel to the state of California, and $5.9 billion was spent on food and beverage by California tourisms.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. And Aaron just popped in here too. Bonus: reduces miscommunication between the kitchen through servers, managers to diners. Yes. I agree with that too, Aaron. Yeah. Thank you. And Allie popped in here too. Again, overall, this will be only positive. So Addie, when you're talking, what would you want me to do as a person to support you?
I would want you to,
tell all her friends.
There's a letter I can sign, right?
Yeah, I can sign our bill.
Yeah, so those who want to support, come to our website. It's called @𝑇𝐿𝑠.com. And basically we have links for people who want to sign on to support, mostly for organizations, businesses, if you're part of or have a connection with, a restaurant, a professional organization, anything like that. We'd love to get sign-on support. Thank you for providing the link there. And then also, if you're an individual living in California and you want to support as well, join me. Join Addie and I. We're going to meet with some Senate and Assembly member offices. We need all the help. And tell your story. That's really impactful. Write individual letter support with your picture. Tell your story, because I think it's beyond us. We're just one food allergy family. The goal is to protect everybody, obviously. And everyone has their individual story to tell.
And Brian Hum is one of those people in California. He's a restaurant owner, but he's also the father of boys with peanut allergy.
Yeah, and he spoke at the town hall, unfortunately telling us that, he lost one of his sons because of not having good information. And as a small restaurant owner, he says that, this is absolutely possible to do this.
Well, and I think a lot of those restaurant owners, if they're smaller, they're doing scratch kitchen kind of opportunities. And so it's not necessarily processed foods. So I think it's a lot easier to be able to tell what you're cooking and providing that information.
Yeah.
Okay, so Aaron just asked again, what can Californians do to support this bill? And that is, again, supporting you when you go to Capitol Hill, signing on to the bill and supporting it, which you can do at that event at your website, right?
Yeah. And the other thing too, so if you're dining at those favorite restaurants of yours that really do support food allergy families, say thank you, let them know about this bill, ask them to sign on to support, because I think that'll be really helpful. The more support, more organizations that can help sign on, the better.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say, what's been the hardest thing to do in doing this advocacy work?
Yeah, if anything, I just wish there was more time. I still work full time as a nurse practitioner, so this is often, this is obviously our passion project. waking up early in the morning to work on it after work. So just wish there was more time to do more things, but this has been really exciting.
That's good. And talking to the legislators that you have, face to face, has it worked well talking to them face to face and getting them to understand the importance of this?
Yeah. I think a lot of people probably, if you don't have food allergies, you don't quite understand, right? I think, I've had people tell me, oh, well, can't you just see there's no sesame? Like you don't see the sesame seed. I'm like, no, there's sesame flour, there's sesame oil. I think there are a lot of hidden allergens, and that's a piece that not many people may understand. So a lot of it is education and meeting with the Senate offices. Addie's able to tell her story. We're able to kind of explain that. And off the bat, most often they also tell us like we have a family member who has food allergies, or we have a friend. So a lot of people have personal connections with food allergy families, and they understand.
That's good. And it's hard to walk in someone's shoes without, you have to really do that. And here is Allie saying, you two are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much for working on this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And okay, so if there is one thing, one thing is we're going to all go on and take action by submit your support. And I'm going to put the take action page directly up here as well and post that so people can see what that is. And so take action 1, and that's got the page for you that has legislation, the bill facts, that submit support in a variety of different ways. And the next thing that we can be in person with you is in June, you think? Is that right? End of June, beginning of July?
Will probably be late June, July. So once that date is set, we'll definitely advertise that. If you want to make a trip out to Sacramento, I think that'd be really exciting. You can definitely show physical support. And before each committee, that's when we have opportunities to submit more support letters and show these organizations, individuals that are signing on. So our next deadline will probably be around May 9th is when we're hoping to get our next batch in so that we allow ample time for the Senate Appropriations Committee to see all of that.
And do you need any other, besides the signing of our names, company names and personal names, do you need any other kind of research or documentation that can help support? Like if a restaurant does this already, how it's helped them? Is there anything like that that would be helpful?
I think definitely if you want to, if you have a good kind of example of how restaurants do it, always helpful to share so that other restaurants can know it's possible and kind of think creatively of how they can implement it. I think that's always helpful. AFA, our co-sponsor, made it super simple where they are doing a joint letter. So, obviously we know it takes a lot of time to write an actual support letter. So if organizations just want to kind of do a click and sign, that's definitely an opportunity. So that link is on our website, and then we can just use their logo.
Okay, I'm gonna, I did sign that letter, but I will also do my own personal letter to show my support from the event side of things, because I think that's an additional group of people that are that can be positively impacted by this. We've got a couple people over on Instagram. We've got Margaret and Aaron and Chef Jamie Barnes. If any of you have any comments or questions for Robyn and Addie, let me know. But Addie, any cheerleading points that you want to say to us to say go for it and help you?
I think your take home is so important. This is going to save lives. So, we are only us and we only have so much time. So I think anyone who wants to support this bill, think of 5 to 10 people that you can share this to or more on your social media just to help get the word out. And everyone has their own connections. So please use those connections and help us.
I will do that. And then we just got a comment from Margaret, who is My Gluten-Free Gal on Instagram and Facebook and such, and her website. But she just said, sharing your story on my Facebook page to help bring support to your cause. So proud of you.
Thank you.
She's a big advocate.
So we probably don't have quite as many followers as many. So thank you so much for using your platforms.
You're welcome. Yeah, the allergy community, as you said, was very loyal. We are supporting you 100%. And whatever we can do to help, please let us know. We are here to help you. And yeah, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you so much for having us. This has been so fun. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everybody. So go in and sign it. Let's put that banner back up on here. Let's go in and go to Addie Tells All and sign the bill and show your support for that. And until next time, stay safe and eat well, and make sure that you are making sure people eat safely with food allergies. Addie and Robyn, thank you so much for your time today, and thank you for what you're doing for the whole community.
Wonderful. Thank you.